Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn here to help you with Medieval Dynasty. I want to talk about some settings that you can use in co-op mode that will really help, especially with something like the winters, which are especially harsh and will kill you off pretty quickly. I found that I've died a lot in the winter, but one of the settings that you can change really helps. And this setting is simply changing the length of the season. So if you hit escape and go into customize, you'll see there's a gameplay settings option in the co-op mode where you can scroll down and you can then find the length of season in days. As default, it's set to something like 3. I'd actually recommend that when you're in the good seasons, maybe in autumn or summer, for example, that you extend the length of the season so it takes longer amount of days to pass. Now this is beneficial because it gives you more time to do things within the season so that you can craft things to survive in the next one, but also it gives you more time to do various different quests, and that will help with your dynasty reputation. With a short season, you'll find that your quests will run out pretty quickly if you're trying to do other things like resource gather and manage your village, for example. You can see the list of quests under your journal, and if you accept loads of side quests and loads of main quests, and then the season changes, a lot of these will end and then you'll lose dynasty points, which is not ideal because that can then hurt your game. So what you want to do is either not accept all the quests you find, or maybe extend the length of the season so you've got more time to work on those alongside managing your village and helping out there, stocking up with people with firewood, food and other things, as well as hunting and more. The next setting that's really useful is Unstuck, which is really helpful if you find that you've got stuck in the environment and you can't move. So if you find that you get stuck on various different things, you can see here that I got stuck on a bridge, for example. You can just bring that up and then that'll basically move you ever so slightly so that you're out of that problem area. One thing to bear in mind though is actually we have found that it does sometimes shoot you off to a completely different part of the map. So in a second, my friend Space Cannons gets stuck on the bridge here, as you can see in the middle. And when he uses the Unstuck button, he ends up actually being beamed to a nearby village, which is actually quite far away from where we were exploring. So now I'm stuck on my own. So just keep that in mind. It's not a common problem, but it is handy to have that there when you need it. Although, another thing to keep in mind is if you die, you just respawn in your village with all your gear anyway, so that's a really handy feature of this game, that you don't have to go hunting for your lost gear. Another setting that I really like is the ability to just turn the HUD off, so you can turn the HUD off and have a really clean, more immersive gameplay experience. This is obviously great for taking thumbnails for a YouTuber like me, but also it's just good to have a nice view of the environment. Now obviously it does knock out some of the quest things, you can't see a crosshair anymore, and other things. Now this is under the settings here, so you can see there's hide unhide HUD, but you can also go into the key bindings and you'll find it in there. So you can see hide unhide HUD as default is set to H, so you can do that there. Now another one that I'd recommend is the inspector mode. As default this is left alt, which I've actually changed on mine, and I've also recommend assigning it to a mouse button, so I've got this to my rear thumb button. Inspector mode is the one that gives you the special vision so you can see things on the floor, including really easily see stones and other things and various different health items, and then later on it will give you access to other abilities. It can be really handy for simple things like trying to find lost arrows. So for example, if I shoot an arrow off, you can then see where that arrow is by just using the inspector mode. It wouldn't be easy to see otherwise, it's just there. So it's really easy to lose your arrows, and obviously arrows are costly, so you don't want to do that. So I'd recommend binding that to an easy button that you can use. It does use up stamina, so it does churn through your stamina pretty quickly, but it is really handy. It's also a very handy tool for hunting animals. So if I've shot a deer and I'm having trouble finding it, you can see that my arrow when in inspector mode is now moving through the world, and you can hunt it around by just following it. So that arrow is stuck in this deer, which is bleeding out, and just putting blood everywhere. But you can trace your arrow around the world. There's like a homing beacon for where your arrows are and where the thing is you're trying to hunt. A pretty handy way to do some hunting. If you're like me and you like to collect loads of things, especially logs and other resources, you'll soon find that you become overburdened and then you can't move. So this game is really punishing. If you get too much weight, you basically cannot move at all. you'll see it in your inventory there listed as how much weight you have. You can jump up and down, but you can't move from that spot, so there's no moving, which means you end up having to throw things on the floor and lose out on the potential of carrying those things and using them. So stones, logs and other heavy things just need to be tossed away, and that's a shame because you can use those for crafting a lot of different things. So if you're fed up with throwing things away and you don't want to do that, there's a really handy tip for this which will make life easier. Beyond getting a bag and obviously improving your skills later on in the game, you can just go into the custom game settings and then tick unlimited carry weight and then just apply that. And that means that you can then basically carry as much as you want. Now, obviously, this is cheesing it a little bit, but it does make life a lot easier.